Since I've been recovering from the flu, I haven't had an opportunity to review this year's Royal Rumble. But instead of doing a regular review, I've decided to make this into a discussion review by talking about the pros and cons of the pay-per-view, which includes the pros and cons of the Royal Rumble matches and also my overall thoughts of the pay-per-view. So with that being said, let's talk about the pros. AJ Styles versus Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens was a great match to kick off the main card. So many amazing spots to keep you entertained, and the psychology of each character enhanced the storyline further for me. Due to the controversial finish, it seems like the storyline will continue to Fastlane. Although I would prefer to end it here, the finish didn't really sour the entire match for me, which is actually pretty good. The Philadelphia crowd was just amazing. You could feel the energy of every fan's response from each match just coming out of the television set. I absolutely loved this crowd. Not only did they make it more fun, I felt that it motivated the wrestlers to give each match 110%. Way to go, Philadelphia crowd. And the ultimate pro of this discussion, oh my gosh, is none other than the Men's Royal Rumble. Man, what more can I say about one of the best Royal Rumble matches I have seen in years? From Rusev Day being number 1 to the Iron Man of the Night Finn Balor at number 2, so many epic stare downs, and the continued use of the classic Royal Rumble stats, which I love the most. It was not wasted here. Even the return of Rey Mysterio and the Hurricane, it was just amazing. But the two things I loved the most about this match was how well booked it was, and also the overall feeling of Vince's guys passing the torch to Triple H's guys. Oh man, I could feel the crowd sitting on the edge of their seats when Shinsuke Nakamura and Roman Reigns were the final two. The guy that everyone hated versus the guy that everyone wanted AJ Styles to face at WrestleMania. Man, did they pick the right guy to win. Such an amazing match. It was by far the match of the night for me. And also the fact that Stephanie was not annoying during the Women's Royal Rumble match. That was a feat. I thought she was going to be the most annoying person there, but she really wasn't. She gave credit where credit was due for all the accomplishments of all the women before her, as well as Chyna. She actually acknowledged Chyna and her accomplishments. A double shocker from Stephanie. And also, by far, my girl, the boss, Sasha Banks, was the Iron Woman of the first ever Women's Royal Rumble match. 53 minutes, y'all. 53 minutes. That is how a legit boss takes charge. Man, I wish I could talk so much more about these pros, but that's pretty much all the pros that I have for this. And now, the cons. Boy, howdy, are there a lot of them. Oh man, do I hate the pre-show kickoffs. I cannot stand them. And it's not because of the fact that they're boring. It's just because no one was even in the building yet. It was completely empty, and they were having the Club versus the Revival, a 6-man cruiserweight match, and a US Open challenge in an empty building. I mean, come on. They just crowned Bobby Roode as the new US champion after the pretty cool tournament that I just saw on SmackDown. And then the Cruiserweights are going through enough after their champion got fired. I'm not getting into that. You guys know why. There's no need to explain further. But I understand that they have 2 Royal Rumble matches and a whole bunch of championship matches already on the card. And I know that each of them are going to take up a huge ton of time. But come on. Don't you think they should have waited until there was some butts and seats before they started the pre-show? I'm just saying. But moving on from there. The overall booking of the pay-per-view after the opener was not very good. The finish for the Usos versus American Beta was just underwhelming. It was pointless just to do a 2 out of 3 falls match when you were just going to have the Usos dominate anyway. It took away any moment for the American Beta to shine, and Chad Gable has been a beast as of late. And honestly, it really didn't do much for Shelton Benjamin either. These guys had the opportunity to look good on a Big 4 pay-per-view, and I feel like that moment was just taken from them. So yeah, I didn't really enjoy this match at all, and it just wasn't booked very well. And oh boy, can we talk about the booking of the Men's Royal Rumble? That's one of my biggest pet peeves, one of them. Booking the Men's Royal Rumble as the third match on the card was a huge mistake. The crowd was so emotionally exhausted after the match ended, it took away any energy that was left that was supposed to be put into the Raw Tag Team Championship match and the Universal Championship match. These are the two main belts, man. Well, one of them is, you had the tag team titles and the main belt for Raw. All that energy just got sucked dry by having that match being put third. It was a mistake, and it's a shame that those matches had to suffer because of bad booking. But speaking of bad booking decisions, oh boy, can we talk about the Women's Royal Rumble? And man, do I have some gripes. I really do. I have 5 major ones that I want to get into. This makes me sad to talk about this, but yeah, I got a lot of beef with this match. This match was incredibly overhyped and over-promoted. I get it, okay? Like, it's the first ever Women's Royal Rumble match. Don't get it twisted. I am so very happy that the women's superstars are finally getting a Royal Rumble match of their own. But do we really need to know how historic it is? Like, for the millionth time that I've heard coming out of the commentator's mouth, it just got really annoying to hear, like, for the umpteenth time. But it also puts too much pressure on the women to be perfect. How can they be perfect in a match that they have never done before? Come on. And also, the second one that I have, the second pet peeve that I have with this match is too many nostalgia acts. Now, with Paige on the shelf and Alicia Fox getting injured minutes before the match started, we had 12 surprise entrants while the men's only had 4. None of these entrants were even surprises anyway. We saw them on the Raw 25th anniversary, except for Lita. She was the only one we didn't see, but we saw everybody else, and also the ones that were pregnant, of course. Like, we didn't see Maria or Maurice because they're pregnant. But we kind of knew that everybody else was going to show up because they were already there. So it really wasn't much of a surprise, except for Lita, but then we kind of expected her to be there anyway. But it also shows how small the rosters are on both brands, and that honestly, some of the surprise entrants that they chose to be there should not have been there. I'm talking about you, Kelly Kelly. I'm sorry, seriously. No, she shouldn't have been there at all. I'm just saying. Kelly Kelly and Tori Wilson should have stayed home. That's my opinion. But anyway, number 3, they really thought it was a great idea to make this a main event. I don't know what they were thinking. Like, come on, seriously? This is literally the first time this has ever been happening. This is the first time we ever have a Women's Royal Rumble match, and you thought it would be a good idea to make it the main event? Come on! Look, I understand you should have faith in your talent, and also feel that your talent would not screw up. But that puts way too much pressure on them. Not to mention that they are competing with the men's. And the Men's Royal Rumble has been around for 3 decades. 3 decades, people. But come on. Like, just because that this is the first ever women's Royal Rumble match with women superstars being in their own Royal Rumble match, that does not mean that they deserve to be in the main event. Come on. I'm just saying, just because they're women does not mean that they should have this as a main event. And I know that they're like overly promoting the fact that it's, oh, first ever, first ever, first ever. No, that does not mean that it's going to work. But it also doesn't take away anything from them either. They have their own Royal Rumble match, but this is the first time this is happening. They're literally dumping all their eggs into one basket. It could have been an epic fail. It wasn't horrible, but it could have been an epic fail. In my humble opinion, this should have been the 3rd match on the card, not the last match. They shouldn't get a main event just because they're women. They still have a chance to shine, and they still have a chance to showcase their talents and what they can do on a Big 4 pay-per-view because they have their own Women's Royal Rumble. They already have that, so they don't really need to make it a main event. I'm just saying. Just saying. And boy, I still have more gripes about this, man. It's really making me sad even talking about it. But anyway, the nostalgia acts. And the number 4 thing, the nostalgia acts dominated in moments and in the match, in the Royal Rumble match itself. Oh boy, from Trish and Mickey's epic stare down, from the V-lick that we'll never see again from Trish. Yeah, she did it. Go back and watch it. They cut it off real quick. And also Michelle McCool tossing women out right and left. Man, the main roster, the current roster on both brands were looking like chumps compared to the legends. I'm sorry, they were. This is supposed to be a passing of the torch from the vets to the future. But it felt more like the vets were reminding the current superstars that, like, look, hey, I run this and you will never surpass me. That's pretty much how I saw it. Like, I don't know. People may see it differently, but that's how I saw it. But despite all that, this is the one thing that really bothers me. And this is the final thing. The finish. That finish. Yeah, y'all know what I'm talking about. That finish with Ronda Rousey. Now, it's not like I have anything against Ronda Rousey and her background. But I am with most of the women superstars after it kind of came out from Nikki Bella on Twitter, and also Natalya actually acknowledging it with Nikki Bella backing her up, that they just didn't like how it was booked. And I didn't like it either. I'm agreeing with them. Now, I know a lot of people have their opinions, like, oh, everybody's just butthurt about the fact that, you know, Asuka. Like, no, seriously, this literally took away the moment away from Asuka. And say what you want, but it did. Everything on Twitter, on social media, on any news outlet that there was talking about Ronda and Ronda only. They did not talk about the Royal Rumble match. They didn't talk about any of the spots. They didn't talk about any of the participants. They didn't even talk about some of the legends. Maybe about Trish and maybe Mickey, but not really so much about the other participants as a whole, as well as the winner. It took away everything from that moment that they were supposed to have. It was booked poorly. I'm sorry, it was. And not only that, we have not seen Ronda perform at all. We have not seen her wrestle at all. We've only seen her perform in the octagon, but we have never really seen her perform in a wrestling ring. And it literally just sucked the entire moment dry. Say what you want, it did. It took so much away from the participants that it just annoyed the ever-loving crap out of me. My overall thoughts of the Royal Rumble 2018 pay-per-view is this. Despite so many cons that I had with this pay-per-view, I still had a good time watching it. I still suggest others to watch this pay-per-view for themselves. However, if the WWE decides to have another Women's Royal Rumble next year, they really need to lose the nostalgia acts and start beefing up the women's roster on both brands. Next year's Women's Royal Rumble should be more about the future and not the past.